welcome to Character Class, the show where I teach you how to play tabletop role-playing games. I'm Theron. Today I'll be teaching you how to hit an opponent with a basic attack in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Now, some real quick information on this show. What is it exactly? So I'm not going to cover every single little exception to the rules and exceptions to the exceptions here. I really want your Dungeon Master to do that. So instead, if you're a Dungeon Master or you're a new player, you should be able to watch this or send this to people and you'll be able to muddle through your first session. Just have fun with anything I don't cover here. Otherwise, it's all in the book. So, basic attacks. You begin by declaring your target and what you're using. I attack the orc with my warhammer, you might say. Here are the things you want to know before you roll any dice whatsoever. If you're proficient with the weapon you're using, you will add your proficiency bonus, so here it's +2 for a first level character, and then your ability score modifier. So I'm hitting with a hammer, so that's going to be strength. My strength is 14, so the modifier is +2. Overall, my modifier is +4 for attacking with this hammer. And now, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's good to drill down on the ability modifier. And you can see all of the bonuses in this table I just put on screen. Most of the time when you're in close combat, you'll be using your strength modifier or your dexterity modifier if the weapon has the finesse property, like a dagger or a rapier. And by the way, you'll also hear close combat referred to as melee combat. Just a little fun fact there. With ranged attacks, like a crossbow or a short bow, you'll use dexterity. And with spells, you use your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma modifiers, depending on what kind of spellcaster you are. There's also an exception when you're throwing a weapon, like a dagger or a hand axe, or maybe a beer stein if you're in a tavern somewhere. You use the same ability bonus modifier that you do if you're using the weapon up close. So with a dagger that you're using as a finesse weapon, you would use your dexterity. A dagger that you're using without finesse, you'd use your strength. And you typically want to go with the higher bonus. So we've got our proficiency bonus and strength modifier added up, so that's +4. If you have any other bonuses, factor those in. In this case, we'll say I'm using a magic hammer that gives me +1 to hit and damage rolls against orcs. Usually those kinds of bonuses are something the Dungeon Master tells you or something you get from a magic item. So we're ready, we've declared our attack, and we're going to roll our 20-sided die and add that bonus to the result. So we've got a result. How do we know if we hit? Well, the Dungeon Master knows the armor class of the monster we're attacking. If the result of the die, plus our bonus, is greater than the armor class of the target, we hit and deal damage. Usually the Dungeon Master will say if you hit or miss, and a lot of times they'll maybe throw in a little flavor. They might say, like, the orc easily sidesteps your clumsy attack if it was a miss, or he tries to block, but the strength of your blow pushes through his shield, and his own shield cracks him on the chin. Roll damage. You know, something like that if you hit. There's a little bit more to it. Whenever you roll an attack, a natural 1 on the die is always a miss, regardless of any bonuses. People call that a critical miss, even though that's not in the book anywhere. Just if you hear that, now you know what it means. And a natural 20 always hits, regardless of any penalties. Also, a natural 20 means you get to roll your damage dice 2 times, add the results together, and then add your modifier once. The last thing is that the Dungeon Master may rule that you have advantage or disadvantage on an attack. So that might come from a spell, or the enemy is in a terrible position, maybe you knocked them down, or maybe you've got you're leaping off a table, you've got some high ground on them. Whatever, usually the Dungeon Master will let you know if you've got advantage or disadvantage. Whatever the case, if you have advantage, you roll your d20 2 times and use the higher result. and add your bonuses as normal. And disadvantage is the opposite. Maybe you're flat on your back, or you're using a sword built for someone much, much larger than you, or something. Whichever the case, you roll twice and take the lower result, but you still add your bonuses. Also, you can have either advantage or disadvantage. They cancel each other out. You don't keep stacking advantage and roll a bunch of dice, or stacking disadvantage and keep rolling bunches and bunches of dice. Even one disadvantage can cancel out multiple sources of advantage, and vice versa. That pretty much wraps it up on basic attacks. Your Dungeon Master can cover any exceptions. If you are a Dungeon Master, and this is your first time playing, make sure your players aren't listening here. Okay, they're gone. Just make it up. If you don't know, just make it up. Just roll with it. It's fine. It's all gonna be fine. And now here's the commercial. If you benefited from this video or sent it to someone so they could benefit from it, consider buying me a coffee with the link below, or joining my Patreon, also at the link below. Good luck and have fun.